What is up, people? What's up, TikTok? What is up, people? What is up, people? We are now live. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, if that's a thing, and on TikTok. Thank you so much for joining us on the Sunday show. Sunday, January 22nd, 2023. It's 8 p.m. and we are live. We're live. So we're going to be going live every day at 8 p.m., giving you the scoop about real estate. Right now, we're working our way through 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. We're giving you the local perspective, right? A local professional perspective about this topic, because it's very often easy to read these books, go to a first-time home buyer class, and that information does not translate into your local market. I've been in business 14 years, and I hope to make going through this book and talking about this topic at least engaging and entertaining. The way we're going to work this out, I have some prepared content, some notes as we go through a question. And at the end, we'll answer any questions that you may have. So if you're going through the home buying process, going through the home selling process, or thinking about investing in real estate, put those questions in the comment section, and we'll be sure to get to them at the end of this presentation. So let's start. Today's question is, should your first home be an investment property? With real estate, there are really two ways you can go with the property. You can either have a residence that you plan on living in, or it could be an investment property. I'm going to save my answer until the end. I want to give you all the perspective of this book, layered with some local experience. First off, if you're coming into Northern Virginia, you may think that this market is like every other major metropolitan market in the country. That's not the case. There is one thing that makes Northern Virginia very unique outside of its high cost of living or high average sales price. That is, we do not have multifamily units. So a lot of the advice that's given in this book about investing talks about investment properties from the perspective of you living in one unit and then renting out another side of your unit. That is just not the case here in Northern Virginia. Our properties are usually, very typically, just one unit. You're going to buy one unit. When you're driving through a neighborhood and you see a property that shares a wall, where I'm from in New Orleans, we used to call those duplexes or doubles. You actually had the opportunity to purchase the entire unit, the entire building. So whether it was 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, you could purchase that entire structure. In Northern Virginia, they have done a great job of chopping up all of the properties. So when you see a property that shares a wall, you're only going to be looking at a sales price, if you see it online, for one side, only one side of that property. So we do not have multifamily properties in general, right? In general, you'll need to build your empire, your investment empire, one unit at a time. So keep that in mind, one unit at a time. So let's get into multiple ways that you can look at investing in real estate. What are the ways that you would make money off of real estate? First of all, there's cash flow, which means that you're going to have positive cash flow at the end of the month. So if your mortgage payment on the property is $2,000, your tenant pays $3,000, your cash flow would be $1,000. That's one way to invest in real estate. Another way to invest in real estate is to use or leverage your property for its tax advantages through the 1031 exchange. Now, I'm not an accountant, so I'm not going to get too deep into the 1031 exchange conversation. And I will say that is a upper level or graduate studies version of real estate investing, because you do have to hold the property for quite some time to make this investment strategy work. The third way to make money from real estate and the most common in Northern Virginia is an equity buy down system. Equity buy down means that you're not going to be cash flowing off of these properties, but your tenant will be paying the mortgage. So you could have a $2,000 townhouse or $2,000 per month mortgage on a townhouse. Your tenant is paying $2,000. Preferably, you want them to pay just a little bit more to cover any repairs that are needed. And 30 years from now, if you keep that property rented, then you have a home that is fully paid off and ready for you to do whatever you want with that equity, right? So an equity buy down, that's what we see typically in Northern Virginia. And you may be asking yourself, Abraham, why don't we see that many people with the cash flow or cash flowing in Northern Virginia? That's because our rental rates are almost equal to our mortgage rates. It's very challenging in Northern Virginia to find properties where the mortgage is lower than the rental units. There is a video I posted on my YouTube channel and on TikTok today about 1-bedroom condos in Arlington, Virginia. A 1-bedroom condo rented for $1,900 in 2022. To purchase that same 1-bedroom condo yourself, you would be spending about $2,400 when you include the condo fee. So you see how it's quite challenging to break even or even cash flow in Northern Virginia, which is why you have to start to think about the equity buy down idea. Now, one of the challenges that comes with taking investment advice from real estate professionals or real estate investors is there's one thing that they underreport on a regular basis. That is their time. Real estate investors rarely talk about how much time they invested, how much time it takes to get a project off the ground. We talk about sweat equity. We do not talk about how much time it took to actually extract that equity position from your investment. So you should look at real estate investing like a side hustle where you could have been doing another job. You could have been getting 4 or 6 hours at another company and putting that money onto the side. And it is very likely that you would have made more money over a 30-year time period investing that money into the stock market. Now, when you're looking at real estate investing, you want to consider that you are taking money to purchase an asset. So when you're thinking about the return on investment, you're really talking about your cash on cash return. So the amount of money you actually put into the property, and then once that holding phase of that property is over, how much money did you make? When you're considering the money you're invested, I'm talking about your down payment. I'm talking about your acquisition costs, which is your inspection fees, closing costs, any updates, and you have to consider the repairs. Repairs are going to happen over a period of time, so there will be some accounting associated with real estate investing. Last expense you want to consider when you're thinking about cash on cash is your holding cost associated with vacancies. Too many real estate investors do not mention vacancies when they're talking about the joys of real estate investing. They never mention that if your tenant leaves at the end of the month, you probably have 2 weeks, 3 weeks of work to get the property ready for the future tenant, which means you have 1 month of vacancies, and that has to come from somewhere. And if you're barely breaking even in Northern Virginia, like a lot of homeowners or landlords are, then that money is coming out of your account, right? It's coming out of your account. One thing that's cool though, or one statement that was made in this book, 100 Questions Every First-Time Homebuyer Should Ask, that I wholeheartedly agree with is, The younger you are when you buy your first home, the wealthier you'll be later in life. On my channel, you notice that I promote people buying condos at a very early age. As soon as you get your professional job and you start making real money, you should be thinking about buying a condo, getting into the market as quickly as possible. If you get into the market in your mid to late 20s, then that means that when you are in your mid to late 50s, you now have a property free and clear. There is no better feeling than knowing that you do not have a mortgage and your cost of living, your cost of existing has dropped precipitously because you do not have to pay anyone outside of your taxes and insurance and updates. Okay. So think of real estate like a game is a good way or a good idea, no matter how old you are. And when I say a game, the game is played this way. The banks have already said that they will give you X amount of dollars for Y amount of income, right? So when you go to work, maybe you make $50,000 a year, maybe you make $100,000 a year, maybe you're fortunate to make $200,000, $300,000 a year. The bank looks at that income and says, I will give you X amount of loans based on that income. So if you look at real estate like a game, you could maximize leveraging the bank's money to build up your real estate empire. There's another strategy that we see real estate investors use that is a simple strategy, and there are some risks associated with it. That strategy includes buying new construction properties with the intent of selling the property once the build out has been completed. So what does that entail? Usually when you're buying new construction property, there is a deposit that you put down on the property, and it will take the builder anywhere from 4 months to 18 months to deliver the property. Within that time period, there is going to be some appreciation for the new home community. It is very common for people to put down a deposit and then sell the property after it is complete to a buyer who wants to move into that community but does not want to wait. That is a way you could make money. The risk associated with that is that if the community is not a up and coming community, or if it does not get a lot of press or publicity, or if people find out that the commercial portion of the development is lagging, then the homes may not appreciate at a rate that makes it that will make sense for you to sell your property, because there will still be selling fees, right? So you're still going to have your real estate commission and your closing costs. So it still may cost you 5.5% or more, 5.5 to 7% of the sales price to get out of that property. That means that your home has to appreciate what you paid for it. So it has to appreciate above what you paid for it and above the selling fees for it to make sense. Now you can see why buying new construction with the goal of selling it shortly afterwards can be risky. Things to know about investing in real estate. I think that these 5 things will help you to make the most out of your investment if investing is important to you. Location is still important. You still want to buy properties that are in prime or ideal or desirable locations. You don't want to get your mind fixated on the numbers work, but no one really wants to live in this area. You still want to look for good schools. You still want to look for great transportation patterns. You still want to look for areas that have low crime rates. You still want to find places that people want to live in, because you're going to be marketing this property in the future. You have to understand your numbers before you begin your real estate investing process. That means that you have to calculate your vacancies, Vacancy rates is probably one of the most underreported numbers or figures or expenses by real estate investors because no one wants to talk about what it takes to move a tenant into a property. There is some transition period between every tenant. It's not likely that you're going to have a tenant go from moving out on the 31st or the end of the month and then your new tenant moving in on the 1st. That is unlikely and it's not reasonable. It's not realistic. You're going to have some time, some lagging time between that. So this goes in nicely to our third point, which is you must have excess cash on hand. One of the reasons why a lot of people don't get into real estate investing is because, especially in Northern Virginia, since we live in such a high cost of living market, a lot of times you don't have money or a lot of money at the end of the month after you've been paying your expenses to live in this area. So if you don't have an excess of cash, then it's going to make it hard for you to own a rental property. Think about this. A refrigerator may cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. A stove could cost you $1,000. A plumbing repair could cost you anywhere from $500 to $5,000. An HVAC system can cost you anywhere from $4,000 in a condo to $12,000 in a single family home. A new roof can cost you anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 in a single family home. New windows can cost you $300 to $400 each window. So you see how your expenses start to add up over time. That's why it's important that you are very conservative with your finances when it comes to owning investment property. The fourth thing you want to keep in mind is you must have a plan B. Too often, real estate investors get into the real estate investing space. They have a long-term focus without considering that the property that they are going after or that they have may not be the best property for them. They may need to divest themselves of the property they have, move into a new property. Or you move out of the area, which is very common, and you now are paying a property manager to find a tenant, which can cost you like 1 month's rent. And then there's a management fee, which can be anywhere from 10 to 20% every month. The numbers can snowball and get out of hand. So you want to have a plan B. Don't treat real estate investment properties like children, right? Think of them like cousins. You can get another one. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But have a plan B with your real estate investment property. Number 5, is the house an ugly duckling or a swan, right? What I mean by that is when you saw the property or when you were looking to purchase the property and it was on the market for a long period of time, was that because of poor marketing, or is the property itself not ideal? Is it not desirable? If it's not desirable, then it's likely that it's not going to be desirable when it's time for you to sell the property yourself. You want to stay away from situations like that, because if you do exercise your right to sell the property in the future, you may have a hard time. And if you have a hard time, not selling the property without a tenant means that money is going to come out of somewhere and it's going to eat up all of your profits. So when you're going into a real estate investment, is it an ugly duckling or a swan? Make sure you know that. Now, I want to give you a horror story about real estate investing. 3 years ago, or I think it's almost 4 years ago, we were called by somebody who found us on YouTube to help them sell their property. Well, I guess this wasn't on YouTube. Must have been on our blog, our real estate blog on AskAWalker.com. They wanted to sell their property in Fairfax near Fair Lakes. It was a townhouse that they've owned for about 15 years. And the reason why they were selling this property now is because the tenant created $70,000 in destruction in the property. Not only that, the tenant stopped paying rent 6 months before they left the property. This client had to pay for or go through the eviction process. They also had to go through the process of renovating the property. And this is all while they also lived in their own property. So they had expenses, personal expenses of their own. And now this property is dragging them into further debt. This is a worst case scenario, but this is something you want to consider. This can happen. Every tenant isn't amazing, and there's no screening interview yet that shows us who is crazy. We have no crazy tenant screening process. Crazy comes in all forms and sizes and colors. We have no idea yet. So you may have somebody who has completely lost their mind, and they may lose their mind in your property, which you will have to handle. Now, I want to give you a positive story about real estate investing. Had a client who inherited some property from their parents who passed away. It was several properties, and once they inherited the properties, the income that was going to service their parents was now coming into their household, and they were able to start up a new business and continue accumulating properties. So there are silver linings in real estate investing. So I don't want to give you the idea that it's a negative space, and a lot can go wrong, a lot can go right. You want to make sure that your risk tolerance can handle all of the scenarios. I want to give you a strategy. I want to give you a strategy that I think will help you in a high cost of living market like Northern Virginia. I think that everyone who moves here, if you're moving here in your mid 20s to mid 30s, you go into a condo. You go into a condo for a few years, and then your income at work will increase just with your either annual raises or every 2-year raises, however they give you raises. Then you keep that first condo, and then you move into a townhouse, and you move a tenant into your condo. The lender is going to allow you to reduce your debt that you've accumulated on your condo mortgage by a percentage of the rent that you take in. So you'll still be able to purchase a townhouse with your new income, but it won't be a large townhouse. So now you have 2 properties. Let's say you get married, or you find a life partner, and now you have 2 incomes into that household. Now it's time to actually buy either a larger townhouse or a smaller single family home. You're going to move out of your townhouse, and you're going to move a tenant into that property. So you never sell. So now you have a condo, a townhouse, and a smaller single family home or a larger townhouse, right? So now you have 3 properties. Then as you get a little bit older, your career, and you start to mature, and you start to make a little bit more money, maybe in your mid 50s, late 50s, you go into a larger single family home. You keep your small single family home or larger townhouse, and now you have 4 properties under control. You have a condo, a small townhouse, a large townhouse, and a large single family home. That investment portfolio right there should be worth almost 1.5 to possibly $2 million, depending on when you started. And this will give you a great retirement income or future income that you can lean on. Plus, you'll have a great equity position. And I think that this will be a wonderful way to start your golden years whenever that occurs. So my answer is real estate investing, or should you buy your first home? Should your first home be an investment property? Well, I don't think that you should sell properties. I think that you should hold on to them. So technically your first property is an investment property. It's just something that you move into as a primary residence and then you graduate into an investment property. So that's it. That's my prepared piece of 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. This was question number 8. Should my first home be an investment property? If you are ready to start your real estate journey, or if you want our buyer's guide, there is a link in the description. You can either schedule some time to start your real estate journey with us or pick up one of our handy guides. I hope that you enjoyed this piece of the content, right? Now we'll get into your questions. Post any questions that you may have down below. I also want to remind you that we will be going live every day at 8 p.m. to answer your real estate questions. And I'm in Northern Virginia. All right. I feel like that was one of my best ones. I'm working on not repeating myself as much. I've noticed when I'm editing the videos for these that I just repeat myself too much. So, all right, let's see. All right, that's spam. How can a single 6'4" in-shape black man start generational investment? I don't understand. I don't think that that's a relevant question because I don't think it really matters what race you are. The goal is really just to start when you can. All right. Every day, 8 p.m. we'll be back here. I'm going to put some music on while you either put your questions in. If we don't get any questions, then that'll be it. I'll go enjoy myself some dinner. I hope you all had a great weekend. It's the start of the week today. All right. All right. Well, no questions right now. We will be back on tomorrow at 8 p.m. to talk about question number 9. 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great start to your week. I will see you on the next video. Peace.